UVCE Chronicles, sing it loud. Echoes of our past, we're proud. From the heart of Bangalore to the world we soar.
So, hi everybody, welcome to another episode of UVC Chronicles. I'm Aditya Patavadanam from 5th Sem EC, and today we have with us a very distinguished guest, Ms. Uma Reddy ma'am. Thank you for coming on the podcast, ma'am.
Thank you, Aditya. It's a
Here at
pleasure always to do anything with UVC. So it's always a pleasure. Thank you so very much.
here at UVC Chronicles, we believe nothing is better than a first-hand introduction from the guests themselves. So, ma'am, can you please give us a first-hand introduction of yourself?
So I'm Uma Reddy. I passed out of UVC. I was the last in the semester scheme. We had 5 years of engineering. Came from the electrical branch. Passed out in 84. Should have passed out in 84. April, went on till September by the time we could actually have our exams. And we had 2 batches passing out at the same time. What was very nice about our batch is we had a large number of women who joined the electrical batch when we joined into college in 1979, right? Yeah, 79 to 84. And it was a good group of about 40, 45 girls in a class of 108 or so that we were. Yeah, had Bonhomie, and what is even more nicer is that as an alumni group, we do connect with UVCE GA. We are part of them, and at the same time, as our classmates, we at least try to meet up at least once a year. Thanks to technology, we have our WhatsApp groups, so which keeps us all going on a day-to-day basis. Many are very, very active in the group, but there are that many of us who actually try to be part of a get-together that we probably have at the end of every calendar year. So that's me. Started my business in 84 when I was in my final year of engineering. Of course, had a journey of analog days in the 80s to digital days in the 90s. And I think it's in the 90s that digital clocks and digital things came about. And of course, now we are on the AI revolution. And having started a business in 84 in printed circuit board designing, which was purely on drafting tables, something which we were akin to because we had the design classes also with drafting tables in our UVC first floor in the mechanical drawing section. That was how I kind of thought of doing, but I started doing printed circuit board designing in those days. Moved on, of course, as obsolescence in technology keeps coming. You have to keep changing. Product life cycles are very, very short, especially in the electronic industry. Moved on from designing of printed circuit boards to CAD designing of printed circuit boards, thereafter to sub-assemblies and electronic sub-assemblies for defense sector for Bharat Electronics. More as a job work at that time because India was a closed economy. We couldn't import most of the electronic components that were not manufactured in India, including even things like small resistors were not manufactured. And carbon film resistors were also being imported in those days. And at that time, also that defense electronics was restricted to public sector units. It was not in the private sector at all. So started manufacturing for mil standards for, military standards for defense for Bharat, which also gave us the edge over, the requirements that need to be met or the specs that need to be met for mil standards. Moved on, of course, as technology changes, moved on to SMD, sub-assemblies, printed circuit board assemblies, hand soldering to wave soldering to SMD soldering. Realized it became highly competitive. EMS came in much later, but by that time, sorry about this. EMS came in much later, but then I decided that I needed to get into my own product and with the kind of stuff that I had, I moved into manufacture of transformers and coils, which are very low currents, high frequencies most of the time. And again, OEM to OEM customers. Continue to do that to date. ISO 9000, ISO 14000, and an ISO 45000 company. We Recoward is certified and continue to manufacture that. That's my entrepreneurial hat. Also wear the hat of a social entrepreneur. I started while I was running my business, and very few women in manufacturing in good old days, very few entrepreneurs, and then very few women entrepreneurs. It was not something, I don't think business was considered as a very good word in those days. You know, a secure job, especially with the government or the bank, was much better accepted amongst, parents, especially. And business was not considered as something, it was very risky in those days, and it was not assured income. So it did not have the flamboyance that we have with the startup culture that we have now. Okay. But having said that, while I was running this business, I received an award as a technocrat women entrepreneur, because one, there were very few entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs in the tech space. And when there was an organization called Awake, which was the Association of Women Entrepreneurs of Karnataka, they actually sent out nominations for Technocrat Women Entrepreneur Award. And at that time, I was also a member of an organization called CLIck, the Consortium of Electronic Industries of Karnataka. And that was largely because of certain issues that we had on central excise tariffs for job work and all that. So we formed, and we were representing through CLIck all these issues to Delhi. Everything had to go to Delhi in those days. And at that point of time, when we received, CLIck sent in our nomination, and then I received that award. And when I received that award, the then president of Awake said that, you know how to run an enterprise. Can you help another woman set up an enterprise? That was kind of nice to hear, listen to, and also to commit to, for the reason that, here was somebody who was asking me about my capability of helping another person, not in terms of money, which was at that time, when you're a startup and all that, liquidity is always a problem managing, and you really don't have that much to give away for anything at that time called charity, now maybe called CSR. But it was very easy for me to find 3 to 4 hours of my time once a month to help another woman set up an enterprise, which was then called business counseling. Probably we call it mentoring now. And I liked what I was doing, helping, sharing, talking to other women. And then when they come back and tell you how they went about setting up an enterprise, you feel good about having played some facilitating role in their enterprise. And it's very heartwarming at that time. And you're young, you're very happy, eager with ideas to share, you know, and also being able to connect, because that was not the digital world at that day. Information was power. You can keep it to yourself. There was no Google. There was no Google auntie or uncle. There was nothing like that, right? So in the in the 80s especially. So then it was at that time that I started 1 day a month to doing it 4 days a month. And then I got onto the board of Awake within 2 months. And I enjoyed the journey with Awake for over 18 years, of course, as the president of Awake. Had invited Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam during my tenure as president for a 2 decade celebration. And I'll never forget somebody in those days getting to Rashtrapati Bhavan to meet him was a big thing itself. And then to make a presentation to him on a PPT, which you just learned because it had just come in 2000. And then making that presentation and then convincing him to come to a 2 decade celebration. Somebody said, "Madam, it's not even your silver jubilee of Awake. You want the president of India to come to a 2 decade celebration, 20-year celebration of Awake." And I said, "Why not?" And that why not happened. And he came. And that was Vision 2020 that he talked about when he came for women entrepreneurs. Very motivating, to have somebody of his stature to be there amongst you to share his thoughts. Gives you the pivot to leapfrog as an organization. So we did with that an international event and many things as an organization. Awake had also won an Act Fund award for all the training programs that it had done in rural areas under the Rural Industrialization Program. Many activities that we've been part of over the years. Having completed my tenure at Awake after my 2 years after the thing, I said, okay, we have a large number of associations, women associations, working at the grassroots level, like Awake also. They're talking about empowering women into entrepreneurship, right? To start off a business. And we used to do entrepreneurship development training programs to help them begin their business. So I felt that there were very few women entrepreneurs at the higher level, where women needed to scale, to grow. And I remember one or two of my friends who came and said, see, you're in the tech space, you're growing, but you should also get others to grow and talk to them. And we tend to, we're always perfecting the juggling act of managing our homes, our companies, and the society commitments. And we're always trying to perfect that juggling act. We want to be good mothers, we want to be the good daughter-in-law, we want to be the good, sister, whatever. And we want to be the good entrepreneur in every way, and we want to be the good relative who will come for every wedding and who's there. While being that good in everything, we tend to keep our business at a level where we are able to manage. We don't want to take that risk of scaling, to a level we may be thinking it may be too risky. So, that's where you need role models to actually say, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. To think of scaling up and then to bring in that, having people around you growing makes you also feel, I need to grow my business. You need that little pep up. So that's how I founded an organization called Emerge for women in technology, business, profession, and service. The idea was just not for women entrepreneurs, which was one of the many organizations that are there for women entrepreneurs. But this was also an organization for entrepreneurial women. Why I say that is, if you really look at it, women who are working in companies, corporate sector, they're also entrepreneurial. They probably are not entrepreneurs, quote unquote, but they are entrepreneurial. They are also risk takers. They are also have a product or a service that they come out with. They also have to show, ROI for whatever they bring in as resources into their area. So the whole gamut is the same. You need to innovate. You need to do everything. So they're also just as entrepreneurial. And if you talk about work-life balance, it's the same. Whether you're a women entrepreneur or entrepreneurial woman, it's the same. And they were not part of any networks. Now most corporate multinational companies have women leaders networks, and most of them have that. They celebrate the International Women's Day. They have a lot of diversity as an activity, in most multinational companies, and many companies have started following it. But at that time, they were far and few. And so we felt we needed to incorporate them. Then women professionals who don't belong to any association other than their own doctors association or an advocates association, but to have a platform. So founded this organization called Emerge at that point of time. It's already, I think, 15 years down the line. The organization is running well. So with a few co-founders, we started that, and it does its own activities in its own steam. Whilst, and they have a flagship event called FLLN, Forging Links, Leveraging Networks. And I believe that is the mainstay of any such organization for them to, go on and go beyond. Whilst I was also, prior to that, I was the president of CLIC, the Consortium of Electronic Industries of Karnataka, where we largely focused on the electronic industry sector, and our own members are all electronics and allied components, and we have a large number of them who are working on that. Thereafter, whilst this was happening, and I was playing a very active role in FKCCI since 2005. Been on the So once I finished my role with Avik, I came into FKCCI as a managing committee member, as a director of FKCCI. Took on many roles as Women Entrepreneurs Committee for a few years. Then I was also heading Manthan, which is a business plan presentation competition among both college and both graduate and postgraduate colleges across Karnataka. And that was a big event by itself. I think it's in its 18th edition this year. Thereafter, I'm also taken on international affairs, export excellence awards. So I've taken on many roles as a chamber director, as a managing committee member. But there came a time when, there was a thought, because this is an organization that was founded by Sir M. Visvesvaraya, very similar to UVCE, founded by Sir M. Visvesvaraya. So, a legacy organization by a person whom I'm in awe of is Sir M. Visvesvaraya. So, I felt that, this is an organization that I would like to play a leadership role. So, when there was a thought, and a 108-year-old association to date. The land was given by Nalbadi Krishnaraj Odiyar, and Sir MV founded it. And there was a time when somebody said, yes, probably we should look at a woman in a leadership role in FKCCI. I started working towards it. And there is a tough, this thing, it's not very easy, because there are many, many people who aspire for that position. It so happens that they were men and they've been leaders in their own right over the years. But there came a time when, they paved way and supported me when we fought the election. And then finally, 3 years back, or 2 years back, I got elected as vice president unanimously, which was a big feather in the cap, because they actually paved the way for a woman entrepreneur to be the vice president of a Federation of Karnataka Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Thereafter, they elevated me to the post of senior vice president. So the last 2 years, I have been working in the areas of managing the finances of the organization in the first year, and the second year in the admin management of the organization. And this year, just about last week, I took over as the first woman president of this great chamber of commerce and industry. And that's something I'm very, very proud and honestly very humbled and privileged, because to sit in a chair that was founded by Sir MV makes you very humble. It is with a lot of humility that I have to say that, yeah, it's a privilege, and it's also a huge responsibility to make sure that you keep in tune with the legacy of what was built and what you can add to that legacy in keeping the chambers of life, right, while ensuring that you have three focus areas. One is, of course, policy advocacy for the members of the organization, with over 6,000 members directly across the state of Karnataka. And indirectly, we reach out to about 1.5 lakh members, because all the district associations of Karnataka, all the sector associations are our members, which itself are about 140 of them. So even if you take 1,000 of them, you nearly have about 1.5, 2 lakhs of members there, indirect members. That's a huge reach in terms of the Chamber of Commerce, because it is a federation. And hence the policy advocacy, which goes across all sectors, because it started as a trading body in the 1916 when it was founded. So we had a large number of traders of those days. Thereafter, when industry came about post-independence, so we have a large number of industrialists who are our members. And in the recent past, a large number of members who are in IT and IT services and all other kinds of services. So we cut across both trade, industry, manufacturing, and services. At the same time, across all sectors. So we have members in food processing, garments, engineering, you name it. In all these areas, we have these members. So here is an organization that needs to support in policy advocacy across all sectors, and especially MSMEs. 90% of them are as SMEs, and across again all sectors. So this is an area that is a focus for FKCCI in terms of policy advocacy. That is one part of it. The other vertical is to actually do events and programs that will help their growth in a way, to help support them. And it could be need-based technologies, it could be training programs, it could be these events, industry, academia, bridging the gap, helping students be entrepreneurs, or giving away export excellence awards, conducting trade shows such as MSME conclaves, receiving and sending in delegations, both international and national. Many of these activities to build capacities of our members in whatever that they feel fit to participate. Third important area is our resource center, dissemination center, skill development center that we are focusing on. And many of these activities that form, and a resource center, a library that we are trying to work on to be the nodal place for people to access data and information. Given the legacy, we have the wherewithal to put it up. So the Chamber of Commerce plays a very, very important role in this activity, and I have a huge program or a calendar that is being worked out, having assumed office just 2 days ago in terms. It so happened that it came during the SERA, and it was a nice time to assume office whilst we had the holidays, and yesterday was my first day and today is my second day at FKCCI. So looking forward to my tenure, where the vision of the low hanging fruits of goals can be, can be successfully implemented, and also work towards long-term goals for the organization's long-term growth, and basically a strategy and its growth. So in the recent past, there was also another organization that I have been part of, because I always have this soft this thing for anything to do with women entrepreneurs. Is an organization called Ubuntu Consortium, and its meaning is very nice. It's an African word which says, "I am happy. If you are happy, then I am happy, and if I am happy, if you and I are happy, then all of us are happy in a way." So this is an organization which we formed. I co-founded it with Madam Ratna Prabha, who is the former Chief Secretary of Karnataka. We work very closely with her whilst I was part of Emerge, the association, when I was president of Emerge. And she has, we call her our rock star, and she is very, very, I will say, has a very soft corner for women entrepreneurship development. And we do not have a pan-India association. So Ubuntu Consortium is an association of associations. So no individual woman can become a member, but any association which runs women committees, like the chambers, if it has a women entrepreneurs committee, or if it's an association like we have Awake, Emerge, we have many associations. There's COVE, there is in Andhra, Alip, in Mawe, in Madhya Pradesh. All these organizations pan-India are members. I think we have about 54 associations pan-India who are members of Ubuntu Consortium, where we look at two major events. One is called WOW, Women of Worth, and the other one is called uh, Together We Grow. And these are two major flagship events of it. And then we have many activities that will help capacity build both the associations and its members by doing programs such as digital training, especially during COVID time. Ubuntu took on the leadership role of helping women onboard themselves onto, e-commerce sites, to overcome the fact that they could not sell their products, especially in the rural areas, in stores which were closed. So things like that, which Ubuntu has done. So, that's an area that I've worked. But coming back, and the fact that all these organizations have the full support of them, while I take on this very important role at FKCCI of, taking on a leadership role at the Chamber of Commerce, which will be a full year program for me. So just wanted to share that. I think, yeah, this is what I could say. The business has to keep on running. That's my bread and butter in a way. High-tech magnetics and electronics is in the field of manufacture of transformers and coils for electronic and industrial application. Specifically, as I said, we are OEM vendors, and we supply that. I have a good team there who will continue to run the business while I can try and manage remotely for this 1 year to the extent that I can. And yeah, that thing and the activities in all these associations are pure voluntary, but it's always a privilege and an honor to take on these voluntary roles. So I think that's a very, very descriptive introduction that I've given of myself.
Yes, ma'am. I think it was a wonderful introduction.
Thank you.
Uh, I mean, so much you have done over the past years, and I think viewers also will be like in awe with what you have achieved so far.
Thank you. Mhm.
Yes, sir. So my next question is that looking back, how did UVC shape your foundation, not just technically as an engineer, but also in terms of confidence and leadership?
See, the fact was that I studied in the Baldwin Girls High School. Forget the primary, but in which was Clooney's, but Baldwin Girls High School, which was purely a girls' school. Okay, Baldwin Girls High School. So thereafter, I studied in Jyoti Nivas, my PUC, which was again a Jyoti Nivas Women's College. So here I came into a technical course in UVCE, where in those days, which is I think nowadays there are a lot of girls in engineering colleges, I think much more than boys, given the chance. But in those days, we were far and few, correct? So you suddenly have to brace yourself and something which you're not accustomed to. Okay. And also we should remember those were not the days of media. We had nothing called there were no devices, right? In 80s we had no devices and no computers. I mean, only when I came to my final, we didn't have computer science as a department when we studied. We only had electronics and electrical. So that being so, our exposure to women's participation in mainstream was very limited, outside of outside of college also, because you only had documentary films, some movies that we see, period, right? And we were also a closed economy at that time. So you start building your not only your confidence, but you start making a foothold. You find your own foothold in a mainstream area. And when you're doing that, you actually start thinking about confidence. How do you manage yourself? How do you present yourself? Which is something which was not trained when there was no formal training, but it comes from within you. And I believe that UVC gave me that opportunity to actually move out from a very like we compare when we look at women associations to the chambers of commerce. There is a comfort zone when you're part of a women's association, but when you're in a mainstream organization such as chamber, we are now in mainstream business. It's like running your own enterprise. And in your enterprise, nobody is going to distinguish my transformers and coils as a product made by a woman entrepreneur. Your gender is irrelevant at that time. It is the product and the service that will speak for itself. So finally, when you're there in UVC, you suddenly realize that you have to have your own identity. You have to work towards your identity. You have to probably comes from your inner self. And I think that's what it gave us. One, we are also at that right time of our lives when you can get molded very easily. Much better, don't have many biases. We are at that right age. It's very quick to take all the positive points. We didn't have the exposure to all the negativism that probably is there in this days. So, it was different those days. So I think that gave me that opportunity to mold myself in the right direction. And most importantly, I had a group of classmates we were all gelling so well together. And I think that also helps build your your way ahead, I think, and mold you as a person. We had a very nice group. As I said, we were 40 or 45 girls, which was a very large group, which also gave us the safety net in a way. At the same time, it was very nice that we had that bond harmony in a class, and that we continue that. And that is what is very, very nice. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. That is a very nice, I think,
And
foundation
not
that.
to forget all the teachers and the lecturers who felt, they were very good, especially people like Mr. Nayak, VKM, Mr. Parmeshwara was there as the head of electronics, HOD. Mr. Lingaya was the principal at that point of time. I think Mr. Venugopal, who just recently, finished his role this, um, as the, what do you call them? Uh,
Vice Chancellor.
VC, yeah, VC. He was there in the labs, I think, at that point of time, at the much junior level. But all these people, as much as the ones who gave us that skill sets in terms of knowledge, in terms of being very, it was a one-on-one, right? We didn't have computers to learn from, right? So it was one. So whatever we absorbed was what we learned in classes. Some were very good lectures we could listen to. Somewhere where we did play some we did fool around, but there were some which we bunked. We used to have civil classes all the way in Nanbharti. It was like a picnic going there. So there were materials, and there were many classes which were very interesting. Some lecturers actually got you thinking, working on it. We used to use the library to learn from books, not from computers. So all this was something that we had learned, which helped build us that foundation. Okay. At the same time, we were also free from we also had the time, because we were not glued to many devices, which we are now, or have the peer pressure of the social media that is there right now. So it was, I think, more time spent one on one with lecturers, with your own friends, that you actually sat and only chatted, and there was nothing else. And then we read a lot more. So I think it was a different day and age, but definitely those are also pointers that have helped groom us to where we are.
Yes, ma'am. That's a wonderful foundational experience.
Yes.
Uh, my next question is, the you founded a manufacturing company as a first generation entrepreneur. What were the biggest challenges that were part of the early days?
Uh, I would say that, as I said that time, it was something which was unknown. I did not know the spelling of the word entrepreneur. Okay. So you started the business more as something that you wanted to do. I started off during my college holidays, when we finished our exams early, and I had that time before the other semester exams were finished. So I started with designing with the drafting table, which was something that I was akin to in college. And I went to an uncle and I said, he was doing this designing of printed circuit boards for Bharat Electronics. And I said, can I do something for you during my holidays? I learned something. And he said, yes. And that's how I started. I earned some money doing some two designs for him. It is pure, just something that you do during your holidays. And I learned that. You can call it internship now, but yeah, that is what it was. Um, I liked what I was doing. I enjoyed it. And I said, if I can do it for him and earn so much, and if I do directly to a customer, I can earn more, because I knew he was obviously getting paid much more. So he said, why not? So he said, okay. So I went to Bharat Electronics. I asked them, can I do it for you? They told me you have to have a company. Now, it might sound very stupid now, but that was our knowledge base in those days. We had no idea where to go, how to do it. Then I had to find out, and incidentally, it was the district in the Department of Industries and Commerce was just next to college in Patanga Road. So I went there, and then it took me 7 months to get my license, 6 to 7 months, because it had to go to Delhi to get a license to start your business. It now you get it at the click of a button, but that was how it was in those days. Well, so then once you started and you get a taste, and by the time I finished college, I got a job in Kirloskar. Like everybody else, I applied because this was not something which I had seriously thought of, written a project plan or nothing like that. I needed drafting tables. I went to those days in the banks, there were people called field officers. So you go to the field officer, he gave me a form, he told me to write my project. I sat in front of him and wrote my project plan. I said, why do you want all this? Whatever I earn will come to the bank. He said, no, but you still have to write a plan. So I sat and wrote a plan about how many drawings I can do per month, what I will earn out of it, how I'll pay back for the drafting tables, literally sitting across the table, but he guided me and I did it. Simple. So to get my first fund for buying the drafting tables, that was how I started. So once I finished college and when I got, seeing like everybody else, I applied for a job. I got a job in Kirloskar Systems. But those days we had to go for medical test before we actually joined. And for some reason, I felt I enjoyed what I was doing as an entrepreneur, so-called at that point, not knowing that what I was, but enjoyed what I was doing. And I felt I will continue this, and I did not go back. I went for the interview, after which I got in and they asked me to come for my medicals, and I didn't go back. So the fact of the matter is I have no experience as working in a corporate company or any company, which sometimes I did miss in the early days. Now I it doesn't matter so much, but in those days I felt that if I did work somewhere, it would have given me the experience at the cost of another company to understand macro how a business is run. But I had to learn incrementally and hence grew my business more incrementally in the process. So that's how.
I think you can say I didn't go back to that test, and the rest was history. I think you can say that pretty shortly.
So that's so true. I didn't go back to the test. And
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
4 decades is history.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Uh, our next question for you is: you created history by becoming the first woman president of FKCCI in 108 years. A legacy moment, not just for the chamber, but for women in business. In this role, what do you see as the top three challenges, say, MSMEs face today?
So, if you talk about challenges, it is gender neutral. MSMEs, it doesn't matter whether you're a woman or a thing, it's gender neutral. As a woman president, it makes no difference, especially in a mainstream organization. Challenges are, multiple and very different across sectors. But prime focus, I would say, for SMEs is ease of doing business in whatever way you might talking about ease of doing business in terms of getting your licenses, to running your, setting up a business, access to finance. I'm not gonna specify because it varies differently for different sectors, differently for different kind of businesses. But ease of business, I think, is very, very important because we all know that the turnaround times of a startup in any other country vis-a-vis India is still, we have a long way to go. So across all sectors, we have a lot of challenges in terms of our licensing, in terms of our infrastructure, in terms of facilitation, in terms of cluster. That we have a long way. But in spite of that, I think we are doing well. We have a good growth rate in terms of our GDP growth. We have a 5 trillion economy that we are looking forward to Viksit Bharat. But I would just club it under ease of doing business as a thing. Uh, but a corollary to it is that we should also remember that 97% of our enterprises in the country are micro and small enterprises. There is we have only an industry. So if you look at when they call micro, small, and medium enterprises, you're actually clubbing the very few 3% of the medium enterprises, along with the 90% of the micro and the small enterprises. And whatever schemes and programs that are coming out are for the micro, small, and medium enterprises, MSME. So my request for central government is to have a separate uh, ministry, department, whatever that you may call, or a separate focus on the micro and small enterprises, and give a policy for MSAs, so that you start looking at schemes that will benefit them. Otherwise, you go to the banks and they've met their targets with MSME. And then the medium scale one enterprise takes cover. You're really not looking at the challenges of the micro and the small enterprises, which are very different from the medium scale, especially with the recent change in definitions, where the turnovers are much higher, for medium scale enterprises of 500 crore to be clubbed with a micro and small enterprise. I felt is something that needs to be relooked into, and a separate focus that needs to be given by the government for the micro and small enterprises. And that's something which I've been talking about.
Okay. My next question to you is it's a little on the personal end. You've received both state and national awards. What recognition has been the most meaningful for you personally, and why?
Okay, so very personally, what was very nice for me and I felt very good about is neither the okay, a national award, yes, for my enterprise that I got. The Rajyotsav Award was something which was very close to my heart for as a social entrepreneur for my work, which I did with Awake in those days. But something which is very close to me is the G Performance Award that I received. Okay, I was a growing enterprise, small enterprise. I was working with G Medical Systems, was manufacturing certain products for them at that point of time, and I went abroad for some program, went to look at a product that G was looking at bringing it to India from Belgium. And I had gone for another program. Incidentally, I was in Europe, so I visited the G plant in Brussels, and looked at how we could look at bringing this product to manufacture in my company in here in Bangalore at that point. And what was very heartening is and I think by then we had already had one or two products that we were already manufacturing for them. And it so happened at that point of time that GE was my customer, and BL was also vendor to GE. They were also having products. Bharat Electronics was also manufacturing for GE. At the same time, Bharat Electronics was my customer here in Bangalore for me, and that time GE was in Pune. And Bangalore did not have an international airport those days. We used to either had to fly out of Delhi or Mumbai. And when I came from, when I was coming back from Europe and I was coming into Mumbai, I got those days were fax messages. I got a fax. I don't remember where, telling my office informed me that there was a vendor meeting in Pune, and it coincided with the day I was arriving in Mumbai, and if I could go across to Pune for the vendor meeting. I mean, those days vendor meetings were far and few, right? So having got that message, I said, yes, I thought I could do that. So I changed my flights accordingly and ensured that I had a car to go from uh, Mumbai to Pune, which was not too far away by road. A friend came, who was a good friend of mine, who lived in Pune, in Mumbai, sorry, came to pick me up to the airport. And from the airport, we drove directly to GE Pune plant, and just freshened up in between and went for that program. And it was such a big surprise that in that vendor development meet, I received an award, the GE Performance Award. and I got it along when Bharat Electronics was also my customer, was a vendor to GE. So that was a big, big surprise to me and something for my own business. So I was very happy and something that I carry with me and I cherish throughout. As much as, of course, the Rajyotsava Award gave me that, the fact that it's a privilege to get the Rajyotsava Award for your work. So that was definitely there. And of course, the national award as a woman entrepreneur recognition by then Vice President of India. That was also something that. And getting Dr. Abdul Kalam is a bigger award than anything else for me. So there are many little things that I cherish in all these awards that I have received. Yes, and each has a very, very special moment that I can remember.
Yes, ma'am. That's a very beautiful memory of
Yeah,
the awards that you have received.
thank
Uh,
you.
so my next question for you is, who is Uma Reddy outside of boardrooms and factories? So can we get a peek into your day-to-day life?
I'm a workaholic. That's the first thing I can say. And I think everybody in my family will vouch for it. Not from today, but I think I was like that from my college days. I love multitasking. I can never think of doing one thing at a time. It's very rare that I sit like this and I'm talking to you. Quite often I'm doing multiple things, and that's something which is there. I remember in college, those days, there's either I would stitch something or I'm drawing something while I am listening to something else. So there's always that multitasking factor that I have, and that's something inborn. Not only one, two, but I'll have multiple things on my table, especially in my factory, which I've spent most of the time. There's always an awake or an emerge or some activity that I'm doing whilst, giving instructions on my transformers and what is to be, planned, and material management, whatever. So I kind of enjoy it. And I think over a period of time, I can't do just one thing at a time. So I can take it as a strength. People can call it you're diluting your efforts, but I take it as a strength. That's one. Um, Second thing is, as a person, I like to be very positive and whatever. If anybody talks about challenges, I like to always look at it as solutions rather than challenges. Not a person who like people keep repeating their challenges. I'm not very happy about it. I'd rather say, tell me what the solution is and let's figure out how to solve it. I don't like it. I don't like talking about people. That's something somebody starts sharing about something about people. I don't know. There's something in me which doesn't allow me to listen. I play a devil's advocate at that point, which is not so good for them. They're looking for empathy, and I'm playing the devil's advocate. So, and as a person, I'm very perseverant. I'm very clear that there are many people who talk different things, some very positive, some very negative. And in everybody, there is a strength and a weakness. So is it in me, and so is it in you and with everybody else. But it is for me to look at the strengths and not at the weaknesses of people. And whilst people talk about me, I'm very clear that I have to answer my own conscience. And if I'm answering my conscience and I'm doing rightly so, I don't care about what other people have to say. There is a moment, I mean, we're all human. I'm not saying that I can just brush it off and say I'm not. We're all human. There is a time when you will feel terrible about it because what somebody said, when you didn't actually do it that way. But I can settle myself for the fact that I didn't do it, and I answer my conscience and say, I'm convinced in what I'm doing, or I have my conviction in that, and I can move forward and not back. So that is what I think has given me the strength to be where I am today.
Oh, that's wonderful, ma'am. My last question for the episode, and my personal favorite, is what advice would you give the younger generation of UVC today? Or if you were to graduate in, say, 2027, that's when I'll be graduating. So, what advice would you give? for the younger generation.
You know what? Having seen this whole journey of analog to digital to AI, new tech, robotics, and everything, I think you guys are the most luckiest. I can feel most joy about it. I wish I had that much more life ahead of me because you're so lucky to be in this world, something which, a growing economy, a huge canvas in front of you. There's somebody talking about a 5 trillion economy, and the world is in front of you to do what you want. Of course, there are challenges. There's a high amount of competition. There's a lot of peer pressure. But I feel you have that platform to say, here I am, in this time and in this moment, and make use of every opportunity to grow to wherever your goals think. And the canvas is huge, 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 huge. And you can create your own trajectory of growth, what you want to dream, what you dream of, what you want to do. And y'all are so lucky to have this time frame in which y'all are, and make use of every opportunity and accept things as they are, and make sure that you grow your trajectory in this space, and you can leapfrog to sky is the limit.
Yes, that is the one of the best advice I think you've given this one.
Yeah, it's a beautiful time to be in. It's really, really a beautiful time. And the unknown is so much. I mean, who even thought? We've grown in days when we didn't have telephones at home. We had a black box made by ITI, Indian Telephone Industries, and then you dial, and then I remember days when we had to come all the way to GPO to make a trunk call to a relative abroad. We've had telegrams with a code where we know if somebody was, a telegram comes, there's a moment of fear or there's a moment of joy. We never knew what to expect out of a telegram. So we've grown through all that, and here is everything in this little device which we had no idea of when we were children, right? So I think, so there's so much of that unknown, and I wonder what that unknown can be, but it's for you all. Maybe, it's something great. At the same time, there is a lot of caution that is around in terms of sustainability, responsible business, health, wellness, and all that is coming around. So I think we need to be cautious, judicious in the way we go about it. But yeah, there is that opportunity window, which itself is a very big thing.
Yes, sir. I
So
think our viewers would have enjoyed that one piece of advice you given. It
thank
was
you.
wonderful.
Thank you so very much, Aditya. Really nice.
Yes,
I
sir.
enjoyed chatting with you.
Yes,
Mhm.
sir. I think we've reached the end of the episode. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us despite your heavy schedule to
But
make
thank
this
you for
happen.
accommodating. I had to push in with so many meetings, but thank you so very much.
No problem, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank
Stay
you.
in
Bye.
touch. Huh? Okay.
Surely, ma'am.
And all the very best for your endeavors. Okay.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, ma'am.